Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 255. I am your host, Keith Andrew. I'm here with Mrs. Fisher, and I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
You're welcome.
Now, for people who want to know what the Keith Andrew Network is, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, trying to catch my breath, but I just ran up the stairs. At the same time, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities. But you should never give up, and you should prove to people you can stem out to something. Now it's a half hour, 40 minutes of your time. You have as much time as you like. And starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Well, I do want to say this. I mean, you said about disabilities. I believe we all have disabilities. Everyone. So we start off new. My name is Antoinette Greene-Fisher. Green is my maiden name, and I use Antoinette Greene for my act performance name. And I live now in Maryland. I'm from New York originally. I born and raised. And I'm a mom, a grandmother, a wife, a caregiver, and I also have worked for Channel 5, Fox Television in New York and DC for the past 35 years as an engineer. I work in master control now. I bring in all the videos and commercials and shows that you see here in DC now. And if we go to black, don't blame me. I'm not always there. So I also perform. I started back maybe 25 years ago or so in New York. No, probably longer than that, 30 years, more than 30 years ago. I started off as a friend had asked me to, what do I do for my time? And at the time, my daughter was very young, and I spent a lot of time with her. And I said, I don't do really anything. And he says, well, I take acting. So I was like, that sounds really interesting. So I started taking some classes in New York, and then I went and took some commercial classes, and then I started taking headshot pictures, and my friend was like, hey, I just take the classes, you're going further than I am. And I thought it was enjoyable, something for me to do for me. And it also, I always laugh, it also helped me through my first marriage, the ending of my first marriage. And then I remarried and moved to Maryland. And at that point, my daughter was at school age, and I kind of stopped. I just went to work and, was hanging out with her and doing stuff with her. And she got to the point in her life where she was no longer interested in hanging out with mom.
Right.
She became a teenager. And I was like, hey, what did I do before? I wasn't doing anything before. I had to be doing something. So I started back acting again for myself. And also, my husband also was pretty athletic. He played a lot of tennis, and he and I got into biking. We biked through Italy twice. We biked through Vermont, from Massachusetts through Vermont. We've done centuries, 100-mile bike rides together. I did fall and crash in Italy on my face. And I did more damage to my face than anywhere else. I ended up with a fractured nose and 2 root canals in my 2 front teeth, but luckily it didn't do too much damage. I think it might have straightened my nose out a little bit. But I do try to stay athletic. That's the funny thing also, I also took up bodybuilding, and I started doing some bodybuilding back some years ago, and really I was more like a fitness person, and I did some competitions, and I did place once, first place in my division, but locally. And that was fun. It taught me a lot about myself, things that I could do, things that I could forge through and get through. And in taking care of my husband now, who's sick, that's teaching me a lot of things also about myself, that I may be stronger than I think I am. So the acting sometimes scares me. Getting in front of people sometimes scares me a lot of times. But I try to forge through that also. So I guess that's a little bit about me. So what else? That's a lot about me.
Well, you can tell us as much as you want, but we're going to take a quick commercial break real fast. And now for people who are a fan of Target Target's having some deals. Let's see, what's today's date?
Today's the 4th of August.
Thank you. I thought I just looked at the date. It just says it expires on the 6th, and I just forgot what today's date is. Anywho, so anyone who's a fan of Target, online and in the store, for kids going back to school, you can buy sneakers and shoes, spend up to $50 to get $10 off. You save $10. Excuse me, so you spend $50, you save $10. For kids' uniforms, buy one, get one 60% off. And that's both those deals are good until the 6th, so get it today. You have 2 days left. And also, speaking on 2 days left, for men who like shorts, teats, and golf shirts and polos, you get an extra 25% off. That's until the 6th of August. And backpacks are on sale. You get an extra 10% off. So that's that one. I also have a brand new one that I'm waiting on. So after the 6th, then I can start that one. But also, the following is brought to you by WooCrates.com. Okay. WooCrates have different boxes. You know, if you're into different custom shirts, shot glasses, toys. So go to WooCrates. They have between 4 to 5 different things you can choose. So once a month you pay like $14 a month, and as long as you keep going, they will send you a box. So it's really nice. And each month has a different theme to it, and there's a whole bunch of other things by WooCrate.com. But there's also one for your dog, Bark Box. There's one for the 80s that I really like. I forgot what it's called, but it's an 80s box. There's a lot of different boxes out there, but right now I only have WooCrate. And the last one is, trying to catch my breath, sorry. The last one is that I'm a part of. Anyone who wants to get as I almost said autograph, but that's kind of redundant. Anyone who wants me to say, hey, today's my birthday, or I give you a perfect example. You're getting married. Can you wish my friend? You're getting married. Can you wish my friend? Congratulations on getting married. Today's my husband's birthday. My kids are getting married. So there's a whole bunch of different things. Go to CelebrityVM.com. So for a perfect example, I'm on air. So if you want me to say any of the following: birthdays, weddings, proposals, shout-outs, or if you guys are a fan of Star Wars, Star Trek, professional wrestling, Game of Thrones, Smallville, go to CelebrityVM.com. There's constantly celebrities, signing up, upcoming people like myself. You should be on there, but you're famous and you're on Fox News, so you're perfect to be an example. Perfect example be on there. Different celebrities, go to CelebrityVM.com. Passing the show back to you now, as I know I hinted towards Fox News, and now.
Well, I work for the local. I don't work for Fox News. I work for WTTG. When I was in New York, I worked for WNYW. It was Metro Media before Murdoch bought Fox out. So I started when it was Metro Media, and then it became Fox. So I work for the local station, not the Fox News station. I always apologize for that.
It's all the same thing.
No. Don't say that.
So what can you tell us about? Do you still have connections, number one, and who influenced you to work in the media?
I still work there. I haven't retired. I have about 1.5 years, and I can retire. I started off, I went to high school of fashion industry in New York, and then I went to Fashion Institute of Technology for merchandising. And it was a 2-year school when I went, 75 to 77. It has since gone to a 4-year college, but I took a course in my last semester. For the longest time, they kept putting me under advertising, and I kept saying, no, my major is merchandising. And in my last semester, they changed it to merchandising, and when I went to register my classes, all the classes were closed. Hence, I should have stayed in advertising because all the classes were still open. And there was a class that a professor taught, Professor Landers. It was fashion going into television, and then another one was fashion shows. Well, I didn't want to do the fashion show for the elective, so I took the television course. And she had been, I think she said, at NBC. And, when all the men, she said, went to war at the time, they let all the women do directing and stuff. So when all the men came back from war, they wanted the women to go back to what they were doing. And she was like, no, I'm not doing that. So she taught. And she was saying at that time in 1970 that you'll be able to sit at home and you'll watch TV and you can order your clothes right from TV. She said probably it'll get to the place where it just materializes right to the television. And that was before QVC and all the stations you could watch and stuff. So we were, I got interested. And I used to live down in the East Village at the time. And I was like, I didn't want to do merchandising anymore because I would rather have worked in the manufacturer's end. And that was a hard place to crack into, and I got interested in television. So then I took some courses. It was a school called the Television Studio School, one of those quick classes that'll teach you about cameras, little courses like that. And I took some classes at the Young Filmmakers downtown. And from the school, the Television Studio School, they sent me on an interview to Metro Media as a page. And I went, and the woman who interviewed me liked me, but I had to go through one other person. And that job was a part-time job. It was a small job, and a lot of times people would bring their kids in through that job, like who worked there. So it took me a year and a half to finally get that job, because every time it would open up, she'd say, Antoinette, the job is open, do you want to come? And then she'd say, oh no, we had to give it to somebody else. And so finally she said, you feel like my sister. And the next time it opened, again, she had to give it to someone else, and 2 weeks later she called me. She said, the person left is yours. I'm not going to interview you anymore. It's your job, and do you want it? And at the time I was working at United Cerebral Palsy as an assistant to the fundraiser. And I was like, yeah, because, I had no responsibilities. I lived in East Village, no kids, I wasn't married, and, so I said, I'll do it. It's a part-time job. It's a foot in the door. So I got in there, and the page, what you did is you did every little job. You did little jobs all throughout the station. You gave tours. If someone needed you to answer the phones in sales department, you went there. If traffic needed you to do something, you just did like all these things. And it kind of showed me where I would want to work. And so they used to hire you as summer relief for all the engineers that would go on vacation. So we decided, from some of my friends there, that that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to work as a summer relief person in the engineering department. And we had to beg, and finally we got hired. It was 1981. That year, my boss, and so you had to get your FCC license. And I worked on studying to get my FCC license. At the time, it was first, second, and third class. And then when I went to take it, it was just the general class, which was second class one, and they dropped the first class one off. And I passed, and I got kept on, and there I was, still in there. So basically, training on the job. I've been there when we still had 2-inch tape. Now we have little tiny tapes. I've watched us go from a full crew in the studio to like no camera people, just one person operating cameras, just the computer operating the audio board. I mean, it has condensed, and everything is computerized now. And it's kind of sad. You're used to having people around and working and being more creative. It's not as creative as it used to be. It's not as much fun as it used to be to me. It's a job. It's a decent job. I'm also the business agent for our union. And our union is IATSE. And I have to go to meetings and disciplinary meetings and do that all for our union members. And that's how I've been in television.
No, absolutely. Now, you've seen it from the beginning until the computers took over. That's my first question I was going to ask you, is how did you feel about the technology change, number one? And number two, it's actually, Mrs. Keith, let's say it's the first one first, because I think that's a good subject.
Well, it's, it is what it is. And that's how it goes. I keep telling the young people, you keep inventing all these things that you keep saying is going to make our job easier, and it's getting rid of people. It's getting rid of jobs. It's just making everything so small. So I keep saying, where are you going to have a job when your kids where are they going to work when your kids get older? I mean, if all the jobs are going to be so computerized. But it seems what happens is they get the computers in, and they say, okay, this will replace people. They lay us off, and the people who get left are doing even more work, because it never works the way the salesman sells it to them. It never works. And so It's never that way. And because I've been there so long and working in mass control so long, I know all the little ways they plug something into something else, and I get things done. Like I'm off these next 3 weeks because, like I said, I've been home taking care of my husband, and all I get calls is, Antoinette, please come back to work. Please come. You work in here. I don't want to work in here. So it's what I've done for so long. It's like second nature to me. So I like it and I don't like it. They hubbed our master control to Vegas, so they kept like 4 of us in master control to do all the small things. And whenever there's a live show, we take over in master control. Basically, we're there babysitting in case something happens with the hub in Vegas, but and then getting all the shows in and prepping all the commercials and shows. So it's just not fun anymore.
No, absolutely. Now I'm going to pass the show over to you. Is there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to promote? Anything you want to ask me?
Well, like I say, I do try to fit in a little bit of my acting. I do small parts here and independent parts. I do some print work. I call myself the old lady model because I am closer to a number I don't want to be, but I'm getting there. And so, it's fun sometimes to do print because it's easier. It's like they call you, you do a job one day and you're gone. The only good thing about local independent films right here now in the position I'm in is usually they shoot things on the weekend. They try to accommodate because they don't always have the money. I am SAG-AFTRA, so it's harder, being SAG-AFTRA to apply for certain jobs now. So I said I have a year and 5 months to retire, and maybe then I can be more open to doing more things. That's all I can hope for right now. I can't go too far in the future because you never know what's out there for you.
No, absolutely. Now I'm going to use you for a perfect example. When I first started my talk show, it was everything I did. What would be some of your advice you would give me? How would I get media exposure? How can I get myself out there more? Because you worked in the business. What are some of your tricks?
My tricks? A lot of it is just, I find in anything, is networking. And I think you're doing that. You're networking, you're out there, you're putting yourself out there. And that's one of the biggest things that you're doing, is to put yourself out there. And like you say, it can be scary. You don't know if people are going to say nice things. People are going to say nasty things. You can't go with what people say. You go with what your heart's telling you to do. And like I said, you can only put yourself out there. Someone will notice. Like, I've had people come to me, go, how did you get that? I could do that. And I'm like, you can if you go, what do you want? I can't do it for you. You have to do it for yourself. You have to want to have that drive. And you seem to have that drive. Because you wouldn't be writing people on Facebook and say, hey, let me interview you, and that's what you do. And people seem to be responding to you. It seems like you just said 255, didn't you? So you are putting yourself out, and you also just did a commercial on your time. So someone is noticing you, or you wouldn't have that commercial because they have to pay for you to advertise that. So I think you're doing everything you need to do. I think you're doing it correctly.
Well, a couple of things about that. It's that I originally was up to 300, and I bought myself a belt. I'm going to show it off once I physically get back to 300. But, during that time, people will say, yeah, I thought the interview would help me with my career. But my agent said you were degrading. Yeah, I don't want to be seen with people like you. Hey, can you take it down? And I'm like, well, why the hell did we do the interview in the first place?
They said the agent said it was degrading?
Yep.
Well, why would it be degrading?
I have no idea.
You didn't ask?
I don't know. Like, most of the things I didn't like the questions I was asking. Because when I first started, it was what the camera saw. How you're seeing the reflection. That's what the camera picked up. That was season 1. Season 2 is basically the camera would record the computer screen. Because I didn't have Skype recorder then. And also you wouldn't see growth. You wouldn't see a transition. And also now season 3 is Skype recorder. So it's got to be cut down the middle. I'm on the right, you're on the left. Or if you were interviewing me, you're on the right and I'm on the left.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see a transition. But, they're just being assholes. And, they're just saying, I thought doing an interview with someone like you would help me, or my manager or my agent said this or said that. So now I only do people that actually I don't think. I'll give you a perfect example of what I made. And when I say I do people, let me rephrase that. What I mean by that is, let's see, what do I have it on me?
Well, you don't have to name people. You can just give an example.
That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Here, you just sign a permission form. Basically, the permission form would be, I introduce myself, I tell you what the show's about, and do you give me permission to interview you? And once you sign it, that's it. It's basically, I explain myself, and that's really about it. The problem was, when I first did it, was I was taking people at the word. It's like, I was just doing it just for the hell of it, because I was wanting to, I can't snap my fingers one after another. And, it's like, yeah, well, you don't have it in writing, so it's he said, she said. But now, to make a long story short, my family was giving me a hard time. Well, my brother was giving me a hard time. He said, you're not... you need a business license, you need this, you need that. So I went to a lawyer. He was a lawyer, senior advisor. He said, 1, you're online based, so you don't need to be copyrighted, number 1, or a business license. 2, to be trademarked, you're not as big as Microsoft or Apple, so pissing away $2,000. How are you going to make that back, because you're not making money? Number 3, I'm not being paid for commercials. I signed up to the affiliation program. Actually, something after the show I like talking about too. In the affiliation program, so they send me stuff and I just promote them and whatever. That's why I did a little commercial. And you can just tell me if I was doing that right, or a little more about that. But also, I'm just doing the best I can with a learning disability. My brother made took a jab at me, and he said, if it hasn't taken off in 3 years, it's never going to. But, I'm doing the best I can with a learning disability. I'm looking for people. I'm promoting myself. I'm doing everything, and people just like to sit back and be like, that's okay. Or I have a picture, or people just sitting like this. This is my family's reaction. I tell them, Keith wants to talk about talk show. Alright, what about your talk show? What about this?
Okay.
So, but basically, I'm doing the best I can. And
you do the best you can, and that's all you can do, Keith.
No, absolutely. Now, then the question I was going to ask you is, when you sign up to an affiliation program, what can you tell us about that?
I really don't know anything about that. I don't really know about that program, so I've never read about it. I mean, our commercials come in locally or nationally, and you get syndicated shows, and on the syndicated shows, they come with commercials on it already. Sometimes it's paid to the show, I gather. That's about... I don't deal too much with that side of the business. That would be the traffic department, they call it. They deal with the commercials and the copy and all that stuff for them.
All right, so what was your main goal, or what was your main focus in your job?
I work in master control, and that's where we bring in that's where the signal comes through in master. It comes through master control, through the antenna, out to you.
Oh, so you work...
transmission. I work in the room that brings in the programming and sends it out to the people at home.
Oh, like the command center.
I guess it would be that. It would be something like that. Because there's a control room, that's where they do the production. And then there's master control room, and that's where, like, if the production's being done live, the news, it comes through master and out to you. Yes.
That's really cool. I never knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to pass the show back to you. This is your time. And wrapping up, what can you tell us? Was there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to promote?
Not right now. I'm not really doing much. Other than, like I said, I've been being a caregiver to my husband and taking care of him.
All right. Well, wrapping up, how can people follow you on social media? Are you on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook?
I'm on all those things, but I don't really follow them that much. I mean, I don't get on there like on Twitter and be like, oh, I have this on Twitter right now. Oh, I'm doing this. You don't find me doing all that stuff. I guess I could almost say that I'm a little bit ignorant when it comes to some of that stuff. I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess you find me under me. I got my, of myself, it would be under, I don't know why it says Antoinette Bakuba 13. You find me. That's on Twitter. So Bakuba is Antoinette at BAKUBA13. That's my Twitter. And on Instagram, I'm Tony Green 57.
All right. Well, stay tuned for
Tony with an I.
So it was Tony with an I.
Yeah, Tony with an I. Tony Green with an E at the end of Green 57.
Now, stay tuned. We're going to talk after the interview about wrapping up the interview segment.
Okay.
I just want to say it was a real honor and privilege to have you as a guest on my talk show.
Well, I am hoping the best for you.
Me too.